But if you're a service-based business, trades, plumbing, electrical, whatever it may be, you being the one actually doing all the work is not adding value to the business. So yeah, virtual assistants can really pick up things. And even if you don't have all your SOPs, your workflows in place, they can figure things out and actually make your processes better than you ever would have because of that expertise they have.
Are you tired of working more for less profits in your home service business? What if I could show you $100,000 in hidden annual profits in your business in less than 3 minutes? Would you be interested? And not only show you where, but how to create that 100K in 6 months or less without additional advertising or marketing spend guaranteed. Just go to sharpenthespearcoaching.com to see how truly simple it is. That's sharpenthespearcoaching.com. Do it now. And we are back on STS Sharpen the Spear podcast with another incredible guest. As always, Phillip Sessions in the house. Now, I've had the distinct pleasure to be on Phillip's podcast, which is awesome. It was awesome. I had a great time, but now it's payback time. Okay, he's coming on my show. So, Phillip, as we always do on STS, nobody knows Phillip better than Phillip. So, Phillip, give us the backstory, bring us up to speed, because we are going to dive into this stuff.
Richard, well, first of all, thanks for having me on the podcast. Payback time, I'm not sure if I'm excited now. I might have an internet disruption and have to leave for the rest of the podcast, but we'll see. No, just kidding. What's up, everybody? I'm Phillip Sessions, first and foremost, Christian, husband, and father of two beautiful little girls that are 1 and 3 years old. Actually, when we talked last, and it was on my podcast, the Speaking Sessions podcast, I was doing public speaking, coaching, actually fell into an opportunity to start helping people with virtual assistants. And so I've made a fairly hard pivot over into the virtual assistant agency side of things. And so I also rebranded the podcast to the Unfiltered Sessions podcast. So still a play on the name there and everything.
I got to come back on with a name like that. I got to come back on.
Exactly. So we're all unfiltered about business, about life, and everything like that over there. So right now it's been a lot of solo episodes, but yeah, I definitely will have to get you back on for that for sure, because you were an amazing guest. But that's really me in a nutshell, dealing with the family life while I try and help busy business owners, more specifically dadpreneurs, buy back their time by leveraging virtual assistants with things such as administrative tasks and social media management. And really that journey for me, as far as getting my own virtual assistant, started with a podcast. We were just talking about AI, but before AI was really a big thing, and before it's gotten so much better. Oh my gosh, so much better now. But before, it'd give you like crappy titles. It would like cut half the things out. You'd be mid-sentence and be like, cool, that's a great clip right there. And it was just terrible. So I hired a virtual assistant to help me out with my podcast production to make it better. And then I also hired a second one eventually to help me out with social media management. And I have not looked back since then. And now I help business owners be able to buy back their time with things such as video editing, social media management, and handling all that calendar, scheduling, booking, all that good stuff. And so that's in a nutshell what I do on a day-to-day basis.
Oh, that's awesome. It is, I'll call it's all the misery of business. That's what you're helping them with.
Yeah.
Because that stuff is so, I don't want to say below me. I want it to be below me. I want it to be away from me. Okay. Because I don't want to do any of that stuff. It's just horrible. Okay. I want to do all the fun stuff you're supposed to do in business. So that's really cool. And I'll tell you, I started with the whole virtual assistant stuff in like 2013, maybe. I think it was about 2013. I really started going, what is this? Oh, wow, that's fascinating. You know, I was in the gym business then. Okay, so I'm like, well, how can we do that? It was like for bookkeeping. That was my first introduction. It was like, they can like keep your books and you can limit their access. And I'm like, this is really cool. And it's super cheap and everything else, you know? So it's I love the whole concept. So let's dig into it a little bit. Let's kind of set the stage. We know it real high level right now what it is, but let's get into a little more of the meat, kind of the who, the what, and the why. Okay, so people really understand, because I want them to have the full value of what you're bringing, what you're talking about, because these are like kind of game changers for businesses.
They are. So at the end of the day, a virtual assistant is a human. Most people, for some reason, they think that virtual assistants are just some really almost like slave worker or grunt worker, but they can really do anything. And particularly when we think of virtual assistants, we don't think of here in the United States, but they can also be here. But the nice thing with what most people do is get offshore virtual assistants, so somewhere such as the Philippines or South America or something like that, where they're paying 60% of the cost of a U.S. citizen, or potentially even less than that, depending on work experience. Overall, they are a person and they can really do anything. We've actually placed, like you said, bookkeepers, actual bookkeepers, not just kind of doing the books for your gym, but we've actually placed bookkeepers, web developers, social media managers, video editors, you name it, lead generation specialists. We've done a lot of things. And so they can really do basically anything. We actually even started looking for somebody that could help out with AI development tools and stuff. We ended up not going forward with that. From a business perspective, it just didn't make sense to try and get into another endeavor and a type of role and try and figure out what's a good fit, this, that, and the other. So we decided to decline that. But I did, out of curiosity, kind of look at it, and there were people out there that could develop in the Philippines and stuff. So at least their resumes and their profiles were saying that. But you can get them really to do anything. And the nice thing is that they are remote. You're not having to pay the taxes, like they're going to be a 1099 essentially, so you're not having to pay employee taxes, you're not having to have a facility that's big enough for them to come to, this, that, and the other. So there's just a lot of benefits to having a remote worker or a virtual assistant to help you with really any kind of task that you want. I always suggest to try and get it focused in a couple of buckets. Don't just have bookkeeping, social media management, administrative tasks, like things that are like all over the place like us entrepreneurs do, but have them focused in on things. But try to bring it down one level. That's what I would say a virtual assistant can help with, really anything that you don't want to do.
Yeah, I always found you start with one area, one person. I to take it another notch from what you said, you also have to understand, for a lot of people, this isn't just some goof in a hut somewhere. Like these guys, they're highly qualified individuals. They're certified. They've got the creds to do what you need them to do. That's what's really, really cool. People equate that, hey, I'm paying $5 an hour or something. They can't be that good. You don't understand. $5 an hour there. Hey, 1987, I was swinging a pickaxe for $5 an hour all day. Okay, so you go to jail if you charge someone that, paid someone that today, right here. But this is, but the level of quality, because I've used them for sales, for appointment setting, for bookkeeping, right? They're great. They're on it. They're consistent. They can follow a system. They can do a process, so I've just added my 2 cents on this because there's just not, obviously we're going to get into more, but like, pay attention to all this because this is stuff that you can add to your business, and you really have to maintain a competitive edge. And as I always talk about, keep more of your money.
Yeah.
Because we want to keep that profit.
Exactly. Let's say like a social media manager, you can hire them, get them from us for like $2,000 a month. And we're helping you with that management. If there's issues, we're helping you get a new virtual assistant, or you can get somebody here and hopefully maybe you get them for, not full time, but still you're probably talking about 2,000 minimum, even at like 10 hours a week, you're talking about 2,000 hours. Yet I can get you one for 40 hours a week. So 4 times the amount of output for really a fourth of the cost and everything. So there's all sorts of benefits there. Like you mentioned, you're in that purgatory almost of business where you're really trying to scale the business, but you're stuck because you can't really hire somebody in the States. This is a great way to do that. Not to mention, like you said, the skill there. I hired somebody for recruiting to really help me out because I realized, while I can do the sales, I can have the conversations, I know how to interview like the virtual assistant and everything, I didn't have enough time to spend on that by actually doing pre-screening. So when I first started the business out, it was literally, I had a client say, hey, this is what I want. Okay, cool. I'd go put a job post out, and then I'd get people, I'd look over the resume. Yeah, these 5 look pretty good, and be like, okay, client, let's go ahead and look at these. You want to interview with me? So we'd interview together. And how terrible is that? We're interviewing together to figure out if they're actually good. So I hired a recruiter, and I knew I wanted to get to this point. So she started doing pre-screening. She did pre-screening, but what was awesome, I said, just take some notes and we'll share some notes. She took so many detailed, meticulous notes I never in my life would have taken in order to make sure that we got a good understanding of who the client or who the virtual assistant was. We share that with the client, and then the client and now my virtual assistant, I don't even get on the interviews. The client and the virtual assistant get on those interviews together, and now the client's happy, and I look like more of a professional business as well, because now I made the sell and I hand it off the client for the rest of the service to happen to somebody on my team. Yes, it's a virtual assistant. It's somebody not in the States, but I look more professional, because all these big Fortune 500 companies, you don't deal with the CEO the whole way. You deal with people on the team. And so that's one of the big things I noticed for myself and my business, but other small businesses, they feel like they're that person, that they're the value in their services, when really they're not. Unless if you're a coach, that's going to be the caveat there. But if you are a service-based business, trades, plumbing, electrical, whatever it may be, you being the one actually doing all the work is not adding value to the business. So yeah, virtual assistants can really pick up things. And even if you don't have all your SOPs, your workflows in place, they can figure things out and actually make your processes better than you ever would have because of that expertise they have.
Yeah, to go back to something you said about even the coach, listen, if you're a really good coach, how do you not have an assistant?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
That's what the VA is. Okay, they should be screening. They should set them up, even closing the deal. I have a team of coaches. We have people. They take them through the process. We get them, and they're assigned to a coach. We make sure it's the right fit, right? So you build the layers, and VAs are great at that stuff. Like you said, they are way more organized than us as an entrepreneur. Not most of us are not known for our great organizational skills. Okay, so we want to hire that out too. But it really is. It's an advantage. It's an advantage to your business on so many different levels, and they're self-maintaining.
Yes.
You can check on me doing this stuff like this. Is like you said, you get these unbelievable notes you'd never take. I'd build it into my sales process for when I have a roofing company. We get these paid leads. Follow up. I have them do the follow up. Here's a script. They do the follow up because you're going to call 7, 10, 12, 15 times before you ever get a hold of someone. And they'll do that. Okay. And when they finally get a hold of them, they'll talk to them. They got the questions. They take them through. Oh, want an estimate. They got the region. They know who the salesman. They assign it. They set the appointment. I've done nothing.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Salesman goes out. He does the deal. Right. So it's that kind of stuff, because I would tell people, okay, that's 7, 10, 12 calls. That's one lead. I get 5 leads a day, 7 days a week. Can you do that math? Pretty soon you need to call 3,500 times. Okay, 3,500 times a month. Are you going to do that as an owner?
No.
There's no way, right?
No.
And I always tell people that's why they say paid leads are terrible. Well, not if you have a system to work them. You'll be the only one who contacts them.
Yeah.
Because you're the one with that system, and you got multiple people calling and checking. They know exactly what to do, and you're not inundated with that stuff. So there's so many advantages of this. I love it.
Yeah, so many. And the thing that you're talking about here, like you're elevating yourself to the CEO position. And that's one of the things that's been really cool for me personally, but also for some of my clients that I've talked to about this, that they've been able to be more strategic as an actual CEO. And the big thing that most small businesses struggle with is working on the business instead of in the business. Well, the awesome thing about getting a virtual assistant or just somebody on your team in general is now you can start working on the business. And the cool thing, and it's scary as well, oh my gosh, somebody's about to start doing work for me. They're not going to do it like me. Oh, it's going to get messed up. Well, the cool thing is you probably already were messing it up in the first place, but now you can start to see when things may potentially get messed up, and you're looking at it from that 30,000 foot view, and you're overseeing these tasks now, and you can kind of swoop in and okay, hey, and you can course correct and everything and coach them along the way. And now all of a sudden your business is doing even better than it was when it was just you who knew everything and could do everything and all that stuff. So you actually get to start working on it and on the business instead of in it, because now you've got people on the team executing on these tasks.
Yeah, it's so important that people understand, again, like you just said, as an entrepreneur, what I realized, and I realized now after coaching countless businesses, like we're the problem. We're the problem in our business. We're the stumbling blocks. We're the roadblocks. Okay. I always tell people, listen, yeah, I'm going to give it to you. You're the best. You're the absolute best at what you do. No one's better than you. But if John over here or Sally over here is 95 or 97% as good as you, your clients won't know the difference. I assure you. And if you're really feeling bad, skill them up the next 3 to 5% and then turn them loose. Because if you can't begin to delegate properly, okay, you're going to live in misery. You're going to be in the owner prison. It's in my book, right? So we want to be able to delegate efficiently and let them run with the ball. Show people how to win, whether it's a VA or you got an in-house person. If you'll build a lane out and they know what success looks like on the day, the week, the month, the quarter, the year, how do they not win every day? They know what it is. You're afraid to delegate to someone because you haven't taught them what winning is. What does it look like every day in the business? And I'm telling you, with these VAs and stuff, like, they get it. They are driven by metrics, right? They understand way more than we do. They understand metrics. They follow the metrics because they know what they need to achieve because it's set out for them. So super powerful. It's also a great takeaway to, like, whoever you do have in-house, maybe you should mimic that.
Yeah.
Like,
for
maybe
sure.
bring over here, right, and help your own business because they're actually doing it way better than we do it.
Yeah, exactly. And like you just mentioned with metrics, how do you know that something is actually being done well? You have to have data behind it. You have to have a metric to compare it to. If I want you to be cold calling for me, I can't say, hey, go cold call, Richard. Okay, cool. I called 2 people today. That was pretty good, right? I cold called. Well, Richard, no, that's not what I wanted. I wanted you to call, I expected more. What's more? Philip, tell me what is more? Oh, I was expecting 80 calls a day. Is that actually reasonable? Is that realistic? Like, then you can start having a conversation, but you have to set something. And now we can measure up to that. If I expect 80 a day and all you ever give me is 40, are you actually meeting that? No. Okay, why are you not meeting that? Well, maybe there's not enough time in the day. Maybe I decided to be a cheapo and I only wanted you working 2 hours a day. Can you even do 80 calls in 2 hours? Probably not, unless if every one of them's a bad number or nobody answers. So, like, you have to understand that, but you can start a metric somewhere. So I'd love to know, like, how do you come about those metrics? Like, let's have the conversation here. How do you figure out metrics to make sure that your employees are actually doing things and delivering instead of just one of the things that we see all the time with really any employee is that they're just wasting time. They're wasting our dollars as a business owner. So how do you have metrics and set those up to make sure that they're actually being efficient?
For sure. So, I think it was salary.com did a study and they found that the average time wasted per day per employee is 2 hours. Every day.
Yeah.
If you have just 5 employees, that's 10 hours a day. Okay, that's more than another person on the staff. Imagine the payroll. Okay, that's 50 hours a week. That's 50 hours a week you're paying for nothing because they're scrolling on their phone or doing whatever because they don't have metrics. They don't have standards. They don't have expectations. They don't know their consequences. Again, what does winning look like in a day? Again, if you're cold calling and you want, like you said, you want to set the number at 80, well, what is the reasonable time to complete 80? Have you as the owner done 80? Have you done it yourself? Can you sit down right now and do 80 calls in 4 hours? Does it take you 6 hours? Can you get to 20 and can't handle the rejection? You just give up? So, there's all this stuff, right? You need to have that appreciation for it, for one. You have to understand what it takes, but then we need to develop the system, right? And yes, understand your metrics. Okay, if I call 80, and I'll get 10 responses out of that. Of those 10, I'll set 3 appointments. Of those 3 appointments, I'll close 1 deal. Okay, there's some metrics. So I do 80 a day, I expect to close 1 deal a day. Right? So that's what it should be. If I got one person calling 80 people a day, I should be able, theoretically, closing 1 a day on average. Right? That's 5 new deals a week. If you're doing it 5 days a week. Now, if I got 4 people calling, hey, I got 20. I got 20 new deals a week, right? So now we can scale that, if you will, right? We can duplicate it and do it again. Do you give them the script? Do you tell them how long this should take on average? How do you open this? How do you close it? Do they have the actual training to succeed? The training, to me, Philip, is where it's at. How are they trained? Do you role play with them? Do you go them through? Do you give them the hard questions? I used to do this and beat these guys up in a big way. They're the cold caller calling me as the owner, and I would put them through the ring. What? He goes, well, I really think we can help you. You go, you think you can help me? I don't got time for someone who thinks they can help me. Get out of my face. And they hang up the phone. And they're like, what? Dude, you're a prick. I'm like, dude, you never got that on a call? You never had that happen to you? That's what happens, man. You got to be confident. You know what I mean? So we train, we get the metrics, but like, what does that look like? Because if you're recording your rejections, your appointments, right? Your talk tos, you can now compare. If you, Philip, come on board and you're getting 20 and now you're getting 10 appointments and you're closing 4 people, I want to know your magic. Because we want to duplicate that, right? So now you have a chance, like, well, what is he doing? So let's make sure we record these, right? I'm just saying what I would do, right? Like, really follow this and like, hey, man, Jimmy over here is pretty darn good. Okay, we need to do what Jimmy's doing. Now, Jimmy says this and this and this. Put that in the script. Okay, he kind of figured it out on his own because he's done this before. Man, he's good. I need to duplicate Jimmy. All right, so now we start to measure those things. You know, we understand that it's a minimum of 7 callbacks before you get a hold of someone. It's 7. It's 7 calls. We know that only 10% of all people doing follow-up calls make more than 3 calls. Well, if 7's the number, 90% of the people, so 10% of the salespeople make 90% of the money. When you start to understand those kind of numbers, you're like, oh, hey, let's keep making those calls. And this is where the VA stuff is so powerful. Because you will not continue to make 80 calls a day, especially as an owner. Get these guys on the team because they're, and I'm going to air quote, replaceable. Okay? They can get other people to do this. If Jimmy's sick, they got Johnny. Johnny will step right in, right? We can do this. This is part of the beauty of the virtual assistant world. It's really, really awesome. So I know I kind of went out on that.
Yeah, no, and it really comes back to the systems of that too. It's not just the people per se are replaceable, but the system there as well. Because I've been guilty of that where I had to get rid of a video editor, and we had all this stuff together. We kind of started with some systems, but then we veered from the initial systems or the initial SOPs, standard operating procedures, and then I got the next one in. It's like, oh, I got to, and then basically I had to teach them and say, hey, here's how I want to do it, and had to work on that. So as well, the virtual assistant or your team member, they should be constantly updating the SOPs, the workflows, however you have it set up of how this job is done. So that way, if something happens, they go out, you fire them, whatever may happen, they can be replaced easily. And so it's really the system that allows people to be replaceable. Because what happens too often, and we talk about like, or a lot of times I think it's brought up, is being hit by a car one day. If I get hit by a car today, can my business still run without me? Will the information still be there without me? And too often, especially as business owners, that's not the case. You get hit by a car, now your wife's going to have to go back to work. She's got to figure things out. There's nothing set up in place because you're the solopreneur, or things were just all up here in your head and you had people kind of just doing a couple tasks here and there to make things work, but they didn't know why they were doing that. They had no rhyme or reason behind it. And so now your business is not able to continue forward. And now you've let your wife down and had to go to get a job because you didn't take the time to make sure the systems were in place and get yourself out of the chief everything officer and more into the chief executive officer role to actually have a business instead of just a glorified job.
Right. You know, I try to help people a little further with the understanding. So when you say a system, this is how I break it down, okay? You have your position, whatever that is, but then you have what's called the job functions. That's the what you do. Specifically, you might be 3 things, might be 7 things, might be 37 things. Might be every Wednesday for 10 minutes you do this report. That's a job function. Okay, it's 10 minutes of your day, whatever. So you have the what, the job functions. Then you have the how to do it. That's your next column, right? Well, this is how you do it. But people leave off this critical third column, the training of the how. Okay? Because the how, if I read, I may misinterpret how to do this. But again, here we got Jimmy again. Jimmy gets hit by the car. Who's coming in next to fill his place? I mean, I'm still the owner, but I don't do this. So now they have a system. Here's the script. Here's what you do. This is how you dial. I train you on how to do it. I train you through the dialing, the role play, the follow-up, everything else. So I've got this whole training system. So who's ever doing that in your company will bring on the next VA, train them. They can rinse and repeat every single time. They can also build a bench, right? They can train up 2 or 3 people so they can have the 24/7 operation, right? Because it's the weirdest thing in business. Whatever you do or sell or serve, they call you at 1 a.m. for some weird reason. You get these calls like whether they want a roof, okay, or they want dog bones. I don't know. It's like they're calling it like 2, and you're like, who's calling at 2 a.m. for a roof? Well, maybe it's raining, maybe it's leaking. I have no idea, but someone should be answering the phone because that's how you're going to capture the job. And now if you can have this VA, whether it's a call service or whatever that is, and they handle that, again, they're trained for this, right? And now that training's off you too. You build it once, give it to them, they run with it. Now they tweak it. And I think, Philip, like you're saying, you do your Loom screen recordings, give it to them, right? We systemize, we build it so they don't have to ask me, watch the video. It's 1 minute. They'll show exactly how to do that. So and that's what they're doing on the other side. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then you have them update that as well. Again, I've worked with tons of clients like, well, I got to get this, and this in place. No, you don't. One, you can just record it real quick, or y'all get on a call together when they're first starting, and part of their onboarding is literally watching you go through, how do you schedule a podcast? Okay, well, we go here over to Podmatch to give them a shout out real quick, and we message the person, say we want to have them on the podcast, and then they schedule a link, and then here's what we do, and then we do the recording, You step through all those steps, and so they've just watched you do that, and then I would suggest recording it at that same time, and then they can go back and make that into a nice document, or they can go back and then record it where it's more polished and everything. And then guess what? Maybe now instead of we'll go to a different example. Like, is one thing I'm working on doing is going from Asana to ClickUp as far as project management software. And so now that I've changed from Asana to ClickUp, now my team needs to go through and say, here's the process now. So every time we're making changes, we update those processes. We don't have to do it every single day. Maybe we'll look at it weekly, quarterly, whatever it is, some kind of frequency, looking at it and say, have we changed this process? Does this need to be updated? That way it's not so outdated. But unfortunately, a lot of businesses, if they even take the first step, which I have to commend you, you took a step to create some kind of SOP, some kind of process. But if you're not constantly updating that, you're going to fall in the trap of what we're talking about, that information is going to be lost. Could be forever, could just take some time. And how much money do you lose in your business because now the sales process isn't done right? How jeopardized is your outreach to people, your marketing, because the process was not documented properly and you lost that person for whatever reason? Maybe you ruin your reputation. You say, I'm going to have a podcast out every single week, and now the process is gone. You lost a person, and nobody could fill in right away, so now you're 3 weeks later. And we know with social media, we are quickly forgotten about if we are not consistent. So it's all about creating a seamless process. And so you can do that with the virtual assistant, with your team, and then allow them to keep that updated after that. It doesn't need to be you. But too many times business owners think it needs to be them on every little thing, but it doesn't.
Yeah, I think the critical thing on that is empower the team. This is what they call buy-in. Empower them when they, hey, look, I know we don't click here, we click over here. Let me change that video. Because I always have them do very, very short individual videos, like for one thing, not 5 things. I don't want a 5-minute video. I don't want to search. I want a 1 minute or less video with the exact name of what goes on in that video. So when I go search it because I need help, I can find it right away and I can watch, click here. Oh, I'm not clicking there. Done. Problem solved, right? Or like you said, it's the updating. Give them the ability to update it. The hard part's building it initially. Mm-hmm. But once it's built, if you don't empower them to go in and make these changes, right? That's when you say you'll be behind in 6 months. All of a sudden they're going to miss a step or two. And we all know in a sales process, it's a process. When you leave sections out of the process, your close rates go down, right? We have to make sure they're staying in the entire process. They don't leave out section 3 because they don't think it's good. No, it's there because it works.
Yeah.
So you do it and you'll see your close rate go back up, right? So really important to understand this so it's a really good tie-in, Philip, from virtual assistants to systemization, right? They're like linked. Like you really don't have a good virtual assistant or virtual assistant program without the proper systemization at all different levels, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I want to mention something with the empowering. When you empower your team to really have ownership of these things, to create those systems as well, like you said, it creates that buy-in, it creates that loyalty, and now they feel like they belong more on your team. But yeah, you're right. Systems really make and break things. I've seen too many business owners that we've helped out with virtual assistants say the virtual assistant isn't good when in fact their system isn't there. The virtual assistant is waiting for, and especially at the beginning, they need to be told what to do. Here, do this, here, do that. But the only way they can really become self-sufficient and really working independently from you as the business owner, or if you've got a management helping them managing their tasks, the only way they can be independent is through having those systems, having something to say, here's what you do, here's a situation, here's your exact task. Like you said, that job function, telling them what they do, why they do it, how they do it, and then be trained. If you don't have those in place, how can you expect anybody to be good at that, especially when you go to somebody overseas who doesn't understand the culture? And too often as entrepreneurs, we think we're just go-getters, we're problem solvers, we're going to figure it out no matter what. Most people aren't wired that way. I've worked with so many people in corporate America as well that if you don't tell me to do it, I'm not doing it. If it's not a part of my actual job title, I'm not doing it. As an entrepreneur, it needs to get done, so you get it done. There's no, oh, well, it's not my job. Nope, it's your job. So you just get it done. You're wired, but you're the business owner. You get to reap all the rewards of the business. People in your company typically don't. So you have to create the systems, let them know their lane, get that system for them so they can follow that plan and execute and be independent.
Yeah, so with that being said, when you're engaging in a potential new client for your company, for finding them a VA, do you go through, hey, what systems do you have? First, obviously, what are you looking for? Whether it's a bookkeeper or a appointment setter, do you say, well, what systems do you currently have in place? Because you got to find out, right? Otherwise, they're going to burn up their time. You're going to have a dissatisfied customer and an aggravated VA. Because everybody wants to win. I try to make that really clear to people. Everybody wants to win. I don't care what level you operate at. We all want to win at our level. Okay. And if people can't win because you didn't put things in place, okay, that's not their fault. So I'm just wondering, like, do you have a basic, here's a template. Do you have this A, B, C, D, E? Do you have this stuff? You need this before we launch. So before we begin this process, how do you get their ducks in a row?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we go through. So first of all, what are you looking for in a VA? What kind of task are you trying to offload? What softwares do you have? Software is different than a system. Having a CRM, what is that CRM? That's a software. So we obviously want to then try and match the virtual assistants that have that kind of experience, that have that software experience to that. But then what systems do you have in place? So that way we can help with the onboarding. Okay, is it basically just a cool, here's the systems, here's the stuff, cool, go, you've got this? Or do we need to then be there and really hold the hand of our client as well and really be in there on that communication? Because that's part of what we do. No matter if they got a great system or not, we're there, but now we can help set the expectation for both sides. Okay, look, it's going to take you a while since you don't have a system. Like, let's try and work on getting that together, but we can go ahead and get that virtual assistant in place, but just realize that we're going to have to work through these things and get them up to speed and work through that, like I said, for 30, 60, maybe 90 days versus if you have a system, they're almost plug and play. But too often, and it always seems to be the ones that don't have the systems that expect more, that a virtual assistant is going to be plug and play versus the ones that have a system, they realize it's probably going to be about 30 days before they're really independent and self-sufficient. 90 days
Yeah.
for sure, but 30 days they're pretty much hanging on their own. So it's funny how that works. But yeah, we do go and check and ask, and then we're assisting where we can. Depending on their software, we can be like, hey, here's exactly what we use. Here's our system. But if they're using a completely different CRM, then obviously we can't, but we try and help where we can.
Right. I think what's important is systems aren't built in like a day, for one. And then it's really, you got to understand what this actually takes. And you can't, if you're bringing a salesman, an in-house team, right? You got the A player, right? He's great, man. This guy closes deals. You're going to bring him into your system, America, in your system that isn't a system. Okay. And say, hey, man, I need you to sell, kind of run the sales team and close a lot of deals. Go get them, and you shove them out the door. And this happens all the time. You're a great closer. You show me you close, 56% on average, blah, blah, okay. But you have no system for him to work in. That A player will be gone. When you shove him out the door, he's going to get in his car and leave. Because you don't have, again, back to how do you win? Okay. What a A player wants? He wants to be dropped into a system that he can win. He's going to get the ball. He's going to run to the goalpost. He's going to do it over and over because he wants to make money for himself, his family, and your company. That's winning. How does he do that every day? If he didn't come here to make up your system, create your system. If he's going to do that, he'll go start his own business. So people need to realize that. I run into that a lot, Philip, with owners. Like, they're not here to build your system. Okay, someone else has to. I can help you. I can work with your team. You have to build that lane so you can, because that guy's going to leave sometime. Might be today, might be 5 years from now, might be 10 years from now, might be the first break, going to get in his car and leave because of the mess you have here, right? It happens. It's happened to me, right? So we got to understand that they always have to be replaced. Everyone has to be replaceable. I don't mean that in a negative way. It's reality. If your best office manager goes on 3 months of maternity leave, well, who's going to run the desk? Right? She needs a system that someone can slide over for that temporary time and get the work done. Maybe they're not the absolute best, as good as she was, but for this time, they can get it done because she's done the video. She's got the system. The time's in the calendar. All time is accounted for every day. That's system building, right? So you got to do that little bit of hard work because then for the next 10 years, you're good to go because they'll do the little tweaks. They'll upgrade it and you'll be like, that was totally worth the time it took and the money. But now look at them go. Now we can scale. Now we can duplicate, right? And that's where you come in and the VA aspect. For scaling, there's no better tool.
No.
Bringing in the VA, you could just keep, it's like cloning the team. It's amazing.
It is. And I want to give a caveat here because if you're not going to have the system and take that time to have the system, the only other way to keep somebody around that's an A player is you got to pay them like an A player. And unfortunately, most business owners want to pay them like a C player, even though they're an A player. But then also set that expectation as well that, hey, look, we're working on the systems. We really want it. We would love to have your help with this. And there's people out there that want to do that. They want to help build a system. They don't want to take on the risk of being a business owner. So they're the entrepreneur, and you can find those, but they need to have that expectation up front. But even then, those are still a rare breed, a little bit more or less of a rare breed than an entrepreneur. But an entrepreneur is a rare breed. And so if you can find that, that's another way that maybe will help you not have to completely build up those systems. Although I would strongly suggest it be you create those, or maybe there's one key player on your team that can help you with that. But most of the time, people just want to come into a system, be able to do their job, go home, live their life. They don't want to have to help build the business with you.
Yeah, I think, and I'm going to give you a trick. I'm going to give you a little way to make that work. Okay, even better. If you do have that, we'll call them an A player, right? They're good at what they do. If they're coming on board and say, listen, I don't have the system, but I know I need you. So here's what I want to do. Would you be willing to build this system out? But here's what we're going to do. We're going to set 30, 60, and 90-day goals. I'm going to lay out exactly how we're going to build it, who's accountable for what, who you're going to talk to when you get hung up. And when it's done, I'm going to pay you this much money on top of what you're doing. Here's a $2,000 bonus. Here's $3,000. You build this out, I'm going to pay you $5,000 bonus. in 60 days. Okay, because now they have the buy-in. They can't be expected to, my point is they can't be expected to build a system for their commission only job.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Or even if they're paying about hourly or whatever, that's not what they're hired to do. So if you have this false expectation that they're going to build your system, all you're going to be is disappointed. And you're going to get rid of someone very good or not be able to keep them. But if you can set the time frame, keep it short, how to build it, who to talk to, and reward them, they'll happily do it. And now they got the absolute buy-in. They built the system. That's empowering your team, right? So now you got the guy. Now you got something running. Now they can tweak it. Now they can record it, right? You got the whole thing done for you. You can do that in-house for certain positions, right? Don't cheat those people. Don't expect them to build a system for you that's above and beyond their job. That's not what they're hired for. And that's like abuse to me. You're like abusing them, and all you're going to have is animosity, anger. They're going to leave anyways. They'll get halfway through, and it hasn't been laid out how to fix it. You know the rest of the drill. But just saying, you can do it. You can have them do it as long as they're being rewarded, recognized for doing it, understand the whole process, and people will do it for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, always reward them. That's something that I find too many people don't do. They don't reward their team enough. And sometimes it is monetary compensation. Other times it's public recognition. You have to find what that thing is that's going to really help out. Now, if they're building a system, it needs to be some kind of monetary recognition, probably public recognition as well. But you need to figure out what that value amount is going to be that's going to be worth it for them. But again, the clear thing there was setting that expectation up front about what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and then it's not just a forever thing as well. I found that a lot of people that we've placed, a lot of people that I've worked with in the past and stuff like that, they're willing to go the extra mile, but they just don't want to have to do it every single day for an unlimited amount of time. They're eventually going to get burned out. They're going to be tired of it because there's no reward for that. So you have to have some kind of reward or a timestamp.
Yep.
At the end of it.
It's just critical. This is 30 days. By 30 days, you have this. By 60 days, we'll have this. By 90 days, we're done. Here's the bonus. It changes everything.
Yes.
Okay. It takes a little bit of time, but people, you want the goalposts to be close. Okay. If I'm at the 1 yard line, I got to run 99 yards to get the touchdown or whatever, right? I know it's 100 yards. But if I'm at the 1 yard line and they don't tell me where the goal line is, just start running. Okay, well, should I go really fast to begin with? Go slow? Am I going to die halfway there because I'm going to Lithuania, and I'm in Arizona? I don't know. What am I doing here? So it's obviously you need to be very, very specific on the expectations. And I do it all the time and it works, but like you said, recognition is huge. Okay. There's three things people look for right when they work. They want purpose, they want recognition, quality feedback, and they want quality pay. Those are the three things people want. And it's in that order. So give them purpose. Why are we doing this? What's everyone working towards? Give them the recognition for achieving, doing good things, and give them feedback when they're doing bad things. There's nothing wrong with that. Get them corrected, get them squared away, and get them going again. And then lastly, pay them well. Give them those bonuses for achieving these goals. Let them build your business and get paid for it. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Like you're like, here, I'll pay you to do that. And I don't know an owner, because I talk to owners all the time, right? And I work with them. They all want their business systemized. Absolutely want everything systemized. Okay, let's get started. Oh, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't have time for that. They don't have the bandwidth for it, right? Yeah. Well, okay, that's the problem. It's not going to get done. I'll tell you what I'll do. Let me work with your team. Okay, you work with the team. Yeah, they're right out there. Okay, then you go and do what I just said. We go do all that. They get it done. The owner's all happy. All I need him to do is write the check, right? Like you just do that part. Okay, we'll take care of the rest. And everyone's happy. And he's got a great humming business, so it's awesome.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But that's the thing. It comes down to having the right systems and the right people in place to make that business run efficiently. And it really starts with the leader, the leader. But at the end of the day, that's how you scale the business.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, Philip, give us kind of we've talked on virtual assistants. I know you can kind of cover the gamut, right? Mm-hmm. Your business in particular, you're focusing on what are you got 3 or 4 main VA services, if you will? What are the main ones that you're focused on?
Executive assistants, social media management, and video editing, video podcast editing, kind of that realm is what we focus in on.
Okay. Now, explain executive coaching, because when you say that, everyone has this picture in their mind.
You mean executive assistant?
Okay. Yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
Yes, that's what I mean.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, you said executive coach. I'm like, what?
Yes,
No,
that's wrong.
not-
No, executive assistant.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Executive assistant, what I look at that is really somebody that's kind of your right-hand person. They're there to really kind of catch everything. So it could be literally, I've had with my executive assistant, like, hey, can you put this in the calendar? I was talking with somebody. Yes, I probably could have had the executive assistant get in for that earlier, but hey, I need this person. Here's their email. Put a meeting invite in for this time. And she goes and puts that in on my calendar. Could I do that myself? Sure. But little things like that, calendar management, email management are kind of primary things, travel management. And I kind of look at them like really kind of a catch-all admin type person, can kind of help out with a lot of different admin tasks. Reach outs, people are reaching out to me on social media. I'll have them filter some of those messages and stuff like that. Actually, even with helping me get booked on podcasts, we're working on getting her into Podmatch right now, so she can start booking podcasts for me and things of that nature. So really kind of that back office stuff that you don't necessarily want to do, that just 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, that's time consuming, is to me what an executive assistant is and helps out with.
Yeah, that's great. I kind of think I kind of give them another role called gatekeeper.
Yeah. As I was saying that, I was thinking.
Yeah, I know you were thinking. I'm like, I'll say it. Like, you got to go through her. You got to get past her or him first. Okay, you don't get, and this is hard for a lot of owners. Like, and I have to teach this and reiterate a lot. You have to limit your access to people. You can't have the open door all the time. Okay, you have to, I don't care if you get an office in a different building to do deep work. You have to limit your access because everybody wants a piece of you. Okay, and we can full circle this back to systems and processes too. When those are built, guess who doesn't knock on your door? That'd be everybody. Okay? No one's going to be knocking your door because it's all taken care of. They know what to do and how to do it. They don't need to bother you anymore. They don't got to pull you out for the most ridiculous things. Okay? So, but limiting our time, that gatekeeper, that executive assistant is critical for that stuff because as they work with you, they begin to know you. You start to set the standards. They know who to say no to and have no problem doing it. They have an unemotional attachment to these people where you might, okay, let me give him time. Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah, well, good guys don't pay the bills. Okay, so I got things to do. I got to generate some income. I got things to do, so we want to be sure we use them in that way too.
Yeah.
Because they're great at it. It's what they do. And then if they need an appointment set and they realize, hey, okay, I'll put you in Richard's calendar, but it's going to be about 8 days. Okay, no problem. Okay, it'll be Monday on the 29th. It'll be at 9:30 in the morning. He'll be here. He's good to go. Because you've blocked out certain times that they have permission to put people in, right? Systems. You build a system with that executive assistant. They know how to operate, right? Now they don't even need you. I know you're probably thinking like us. Sounds like you don't have to do anything in business. Well, no, you do. You have to do what we call your 5%. The 5% of things only you can do in that business. That's what you need to focus on. You don't need to focus on all the other nonsense. I just think what you've brought here today, Philip, is just they're tools. They're unbelievable tools that 15 years ago they didn't exist pretty much, right? Or in its infancy, at that time. But now it's like so readily available. And with people like you, where you can go to and say, here's what I need. And you take it up, like you said, your filters. Hey, here's 3 people, talk to them. I've had that. They bring me 3 people. See what you.
Yeah. Yeah, we get hundreds of applicants as well. Think about that. Hundreds of applications that you have to go through to find maybe 3 good ones.
Right.
Yeah.
And better you than me.
There. Yeah.
Better you than me.
Yeah.
And then I just get to interview the cream. Here we go. Boom, boom. Okay.
Exactly.
I'll take number 2. I'll take the second curtain. Let's give me that one. And it works out great. It really does work out great. I got to tell you, my experiences have always been really, really positive. With it is just I don't know. All the years I've been using it, and I just preach it all the time, just like you. I'm like, has to be an element of your business. Somewhere in your business, this fits. I guarantee you.
Yeah.
Right? No matter what you do, don't ignore this like there's nowhere for it to be. I mean, look at it, step back, look at your business, right? Like, well, what can I do? Then talk to you, Philip, get Philip on the horn. So I say, okay, here's what I'm thinking. Okay, I got this and this. I need someone to do this. What do you got? And you can say, I got nobody. Okay. Or you can say, I got just the person, right? Or you need to talk to this person, right? You may be able to direct them. But I think it's really important people look at it. And this is what we need to do as owners is always reevaluate our business and where we're at. These are tools. These are costs. Okay. We need to, if we can cut costs by changing where we're getting our people from or whatever that might be, it's a supplier, right? It's like changing suppliers. Okay, I'm getting this different thing. So I just want people to kind of really plant that seed in their head to start looking at their business and how can they utilize what you do.
Yes.
Right.
What
Really
can
like
you offload and delegate so you can focus on higher level tasks that are going to bring in more money and help you build the business that you really want to build.
it's exactly what it's about. So give us some parting thoughts.
Awesome.
Let's put a nice bow on this, Phil.
Yeah,
Nice bow.
Well, I want you to think about, because we talked a lot about delegation systems, stuff like that. Think about where it is that you want to be. And once you figure out where you want to be, what kind of business you want to have, what kind of leader that you want to be, the wife or husband that you want to show up as, what actions does that person or that business, what are they doing and executing on a daily basis? And start doing those things. You have to be it, and then you will become it. So start being that type of person, that type of business owner, that type of husband, that type of wife, and eventually you will become that type of husband, wife, business owner, whatever it is. So think about where you want to go, reverse engineer daily actionable steps, and start taking those. And would love to share. I don't remember the exact link off the top of my head, but I can share the link with you later, which is a free guide of how to delegate tasks. Figure out what tasks that would be worth delegating, what things you do on a daily basis, so you can figure out what it is that you could delegate first. As a free guide to help you understand more about delegation, what's good to delegate, what do you like to do, not like to do.
Awesome. I will put that in the show notes. You'll give me that link. I'll throw it in the show notes. Take advantage of that. I always say this, when people are offering content, knowledge, take it. Start there. Okay. It's a great way to get into Philip's ecosystem, as we talk about with other businesses, right? You want to get in there, you find value in what he's offering here and these steps and everything else. Take the next step, right? Work your way up that proverbial value ladder, right? He's got more. So look into this. I just highly recommend this. I love having you on, Philip, because this is that thing that people talk about. They don't talk about it well. Mm-hmm. They don't really understand, and I love what you've put together is offering the service, that aspect of it, because trust me, if you go looking yourself, okay, it can be kind of painful. There's a lot of humps and bumps that a guy like Philip's going to save you from hitting. And we're talking costs, bad decisions, the usual, right? The usual when you don't lean on experience, okay? All the same bad things are going to happen to you. So take advantage of this. Get that guide. We'll have in the show notes, and then reach out to Philip and let's get into using VAs. It'll be awesome. So Philip, thank you so much for being on. This has been amazing. And I got to come on the Unfiltered little podcast of yours. We'll get you on there, Richard. I appreciate you having me on here. It's been great, brother. Thanks so much. And everybody, we'll see you on the next STS podcast.
And don't forget, revenue feeds the ego, profit feeds the family. So if you want to see how I can show you at least $100,000 in hidden annual profits in less than 3 minutes, and not only show you where, but how to create that 100K in 6 months or less without additional advertising or marketing spend, guaranteed, just go to sharpenthespiritcoaching.com. See how truly simple it is. That's sharpenthespiritcoaching.com. Do it now.